Another delicacy in Hawaii is barbecued octopus.
Hey, you guys want some octopus?
We left. To me, Hawaii's natural beauty and relaxed atmosphere are unequaled anywhere in the world. There are many miles of unpopulated beaches for fishing or just relaxing. But don't get too relaxed. Near Sunset Beach is a fun sandy bottom shore break called Pupukea. 3 surfers check out the action. Steve Angus thought it looked lousy, but Ricky Young from Manhattan Beach could see beautiful possibilities. So Rick went out. Interesting thing about Pupukea, you can ride in 3 directions. Either right, left, or straight down. When the wave gets too crowded, Rick takes the high road and Fred Hemmings takes the low road. Fred moves up, but gets snuffed out. Fred is, without a question, one of the finest surfers in the world today. Watch him hang 5 and go into a body surf right off his board. It looked fun, so Greg Abbott from San Diego tries it. Hey, it does work. No more of that greasy kid stuff for Greg. Greg's cousin, Larry Lumbach, is the hottest body surfer around. His windmills and body actions are classic. Hawaiian girls are world famous for their natural beauty and friendliness. But this friendly typhoid Mary is about as popular on the North Shore as an unwed mother at a PTA meeting. The most radical spot on the North Shore, and probably in the whole world, is the Banzai Pipeline. Some adventurous souls like Australia's Mick McMahon will try the impossible just to see if it really is impossible. And it is. Greg Noll finds the pipeline has a very shallow bottom. But 10 minutes later, he's right back out. For anyone hell-bent on harry-carry, Banzai Pipeline is the perfect place. But every surfer must try it at least once. Even to this day, there's still only about a half a dozen surfers who can really handle the pipeline. Steve Gaines has become one of the best. Butch Van Artsdale has earned the name Mr. Pipeline. Butch says it's easy. You make a drop turn in midair, speed up to 120 miles an hour, do a switch foot, crank a smart turn, trim, then walk up to the nose, and you've got the wave made. Let's see, would you mind repeating that, Butch? Drop in at 117 miles per hour, do a smart... move up. Easy, he says. Forget it. But even an expert like Butch can make a mistake. The problem was he took off at only 96 miles an hour. Greg Noll has been waiting outside and grabs an all-time ride. Fantastic. Hawaii is well known throughout the world for its near-perfect climate. And the miles of pineapple and sugarcane fields are a testimony to Hawaii's booming economy. But the U.S. Weather Bureau is reporting a giant storm is headed this way. An urgent effort is being made to harvest the pineapple crop before the impending storm. Mark Twain once described Hawaii as the loveliest fleet of islands anchored in any ocean. Indeed it is. Trying to relax is almost impossible when you know soon you may be facing the largest wave of your life. Less than a half dozen surfers have ever faced a 30-foot wave. Perhaps more than the threatening danger and challenge, the waiting is the toughest part. Waiting. Waiting. Ironically, it was during the Ice Age that Hawaii arose from the sea like the Jolly Green Giant. Once, the Weather Bureau correctly prognosticated the storm surf. A pot of gold is waiting for anyone crazy enough to meet the challenge. Twice in the past 10 years, an enormous wall rose out of the sea about a mile out from Banzai Pipeline. Naturally, no one had ever ridden the thing. It'd be sure suicide. Chemo and Butch thought it was a bad dream. Chemo's group had 21% fewer dings. Sue was trying to patch Rick's trunks. Then Greg Noll arrived with his board, but of course he hadn't seen the thing. Rick went over to tell Greg to forget the board, but then they started talking.
He's looking at the set coming outside.
What do you think, Greg? Can we get out?
It's a hell of a set. I don't know if we're going to make it past that short break or not.
Come on, let's try it.
I think we can get out if we get over here. See, I still think the best bet would be get somebody up on the hill squatting for us and then wait, right for a good roll and then go, huh?
Okay, I'm ready.
She's looking at the set coming outside. Take a look at that side step there.
25.
Close to it. Hey, here comes Sting. Maybe he's going to go out with us. What do you think?
Mike? Hey, you want to go?
Come on.
Come on.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
A couple of Malahinis couldn't believe anyone was crazy enough to try and ride this place. Watching Mike wax up, one of them said, "Hey, Jack, what are those guys putting on their boards?" "I don't know." Rick lost the toss and had the dubious honor to be the first one to try to get out. It looked impossible, but there had to be a channel. Finally, there was a slight lull and Ricky launched. He had plotted a course of attack, but within the first 50 feet, the cross current was taking him off course. Greg and Mike waited for the inevitable. Paddling hard, Rick plowed over the first wave just in time. Frenchie tried to reassure Sue, but the inevitable happened. Not once, but 4 times. Correction. That makes 5 inevitables. Ricky is the most determined surfer I've ever known. His reaction is curiosity, not fear. Greg and Stang moved down a newly formed sandbar to a more advantageous launch spot. 2 days ago, they'd been surfing over the exact spot where they're now walking. Outside, Rick looks down the vertical drop and pulls back. His board follows. Inside, Greg and Stang launch. They picked their course and railroaded for it. Charlie Galento couldn't stand the suspense. He joined them. Stang climbed up, took one look, and fainted. Charlie Galento tested the inside reef. Hanging high in the wave, he blazed a trail across the flat section, never knowing when or where the bottom would suddenly drop out. Feeling his way across the endless wall, he felt a surge upward. He tried to climb, but the wall was getting steep. Desperately, he lunged for the top. As it turned out, it was a very wise decision. Galento's stock jumped up 10 points. Stang was testing the shoulder. Then Rick gambles a do-or-die drive right down the heart of the wave. Rick works his way back high on the wall, but one glance tells him pulling out would be disastrous. Another killer wave close behind leaves him no choice but to ride it out. Rick makes an island pull-out and races back outside in time to see Charlie Galento screaming across the top of a hairy wall. Charlie powers over just in time. There is no question Charlie has guts, but storm surf with the force of an atomic bomb makes the odds a little uneven. Rick, confident from his first ride, calmly drops into an even larger wave. If any awards are given out for keeping a cool head, Rick should get it. Watch as he calmly trims his board just inches ahead of the giant curl. Suddenly the wave plays out and Rick is left to face the menacing shore break. He calmly waits until the last possible second and tries to plow over. Couldn't make it. Galento literally fights his way over the top of another monster. Rick, happy to be alive, makes a quick change in the poor man's Waldorf Hilton. Zippers can really hang you up. Galento decides to hang it up. A whole wave closed out behind him. It's a long swim for Galento and a warm reception for Rick. But what about Greg and Stang? In 5 hours outside, Greg Noll still has not made his move. Stang is standing by Greg waiting. Waiting for that ultimate wave. Someone screamed, "Outside!" And there it was. Greg Noll on a wall a mile long. With no hope of escape, Greg screams across the seething onslaught of hungry fury, knowing that at any second he will be devoured alive. That is unbelievable. Let's watch a slow-motion instant replay of the last part of that harrowing ride again to see just what happened. Greg, with his feet far apart for maximum stability, is driving far ahead of the giant comber. He wants out, but there is no out. The feathering top lip of the wave has entrapped him down inside. In spite of his fantastic speed, the whole world is closing in on him. Just ahead, the steep up-thrust catapults Greg into space. There. And the green monster eats him alive. Follow his board now as it reverses course up through the wave and goes into orbit. A 50-pound elephant gun floating through space like a feather. Somehow Greg survived and swam ashore. Outside Pipeline is definitely something else. There was no real pot of gold or even blue chip stamps. But I know 4 brave surfers who feel a whole lot richer inside. Frenchie gave Rick a letter from Teague and some of the guys back in California. Since they couldn't make the Surfari to sunny Hawaii, they took a ski-fari to the not-so-sunny mountains. John says the slopes look like a busy day at Malibu. Some red-blooded Americans like the sport of surfing and some like the sport of skiing, but there's one sport that we all like: girls. The trouble with skiing is you're never sure what they look like. Here's one that really needs help. Help! Actually, she lost her contact lens. But surfers don't need help. After all, if you can stand up on a slippery surfboard, you should be able to stand up on slippery skis. Attaboy. Surfing seems to develop strong arms and shoulders, and skiing seems to develop strong legs. Notice the strong legs. Dave Rockland was a little short of money, so he only rented one ski. With a private ski instructor, you can learn to ski in a few lessons, but ski instructors are a little expensive, so Tommy Raines bought a 10-cent do-it-yourself manual and learned all by himself. Attaboy, Tommy. Skiing has some funny rules about paying $3 to ride the ski tow to the top of the hill. Robert didn't have $3, so they shortened Robert's skis. Didn't bother Robert much, though, because they were rented skis. Actually, the joke was on them, because short skis are more fun anyway. Some of the ski outfits are too much. So are some of the wipeouts. The booby prize for the best wipeout of the day will just have to go to this modern Robinson Crusoe. Seeing some of the kids having such a good time gave the surfers an idea for a new game. They borrowed a few old inner tubes off a few old cars and invented a new sport. Every sport should have a name, so they named this one El Rupcho. Seriously, watching an expert ski down a fresh powder is a beautiful sight. But even experts make mistakes. John says skiing is great fun, but he thinks he'll stick to surfing. Back in sunny Hawaii, the storm has almost closed out the whole North Shore, and now the swell is shifting towards Waimea Bay. The main reef has not yet started breaking, but the stage is set for a dramatic day. Waiting outside was easier for some. Others waited inside. Rick and Sue found building sand castles an easy way of waiting. Frenchie noticed the whole bay was vibrating. Maybe it isn't the storm vibrating the bay. Looks like Wanda the Wahine Watusi Wonder Girl has heard about the French lovers and wants to start a meaningful relationship. almost started a tidal wave. From the hill, we see the deep water swells approaching land at approximately 30 miles an hour. Let's take this wave. The lineup is crowded, but easy. You scratch, then feel the lift up, power down. You're startled by how fast the wave develops. You look around, amazed you're in the slot. You trim, regain your composure, and feel the warm spray nudging you on. Well, you rode the bay, and it's a great feeling until you remember it might get 3 times this size. Rick was in no hurry to go out. Never before had so many big wave hunters crowded the lineup for the big challenge. Even the first sets are peaking at 16 feet and showing excellent shape. By 1:30, the surf had picked up to around 18 feet. 4 on a wall is a little ridiculous, but knowing how quickly the size and mood of Waimea can change, some of the surfers are getting in all the rides they can. About 2 o'clock, Greg Noll, the Pied Piper of the bay, went out. Don James with camera paddled out through the channel. And to everyone's amazement, little Jeff Hackman was going out. The main reef is now peaking at a steady 20 feet. The thickly shaped wave looks tame, but it's deceptively steep. But even to a seasoned pro like Greg Noll, a spectacular vertical wall can mean a terrible wipeout. It's funny to some guys when a heavy takes gas, but you don't get to be top cat at Waimea without a lot of hard knocks. Frenchie watched helplessly as Greg's big gun smashed into the rocks. Watching a $200 gun get demolished is a sad experience. The shocking realization of just how quickly the fragile human body can also be demolished sort of makes you stop and think. Fortunately, Greg's gun survived the grueling test. Hey, Greg, how's the bottom? Go take a flying what? Sue doesn't want Ricky to go out, but it's getting great out there, and Greg and Stang are going out, and forget it. Sue doesn't grasp the deep meaning Waimea has to a heavy like Rick. Experience has taught Rick a pronoun is better than a swim any day. For a moment, Rick disappears in the soup, and then comes out grinning from ear to ear. Greg and Stang spring out of the green wall and are joined by Professor Peter Cole. Notice how Greg's speed bounced him. Stang gets the same treatment. Rick drops in between 2 goofy foots. Sammy Lee has to prong when the wave gets too crowded. Sue watched as Rick finally got a wave to himself. Around 4 o'clock, the waves began to play tricks. The current shifted a little more to the north and is hitting the main reef full bore. Frenchie's been practicing hard on his pipo board, but Waimea Bay is something else. Jeff Hackman is making his debut on one of the most radical waves of the day. The offshore wind and spray added an air of mystery to the ever-growing, shifting surf. The surfer could use a little radar or a good set of water wings. It's like being buried under a mountain of whipped cream or locked inside a giant bubble machine. Frenchie, forget about that pipo board. Outside, 3 surfers taking... No, it's only Greg Noll driving. The bottom drops out and Greg takes a bad one. Wow. Uh-oh, another big one, and KLO is bent out of shape. The bay is getting out of control. There comes little Jeff and Sammy Lee on a giant wall, and there's no way out. The crowd outside is thinning out as 2 surfers make the drop. One drops all the way. In slow motion, here's a wipeout that really hurt. Ow. KLO of pearls, almost recovers, then goes down for the count. Watch as KLO's board again pearls and sends him to the bottom. Then his board almost spears him. this thing started looking like a long-distance diving contest. The idea, of course, is to get as far away from the dangerous flying board as possible. Mike, staying high in the wave, bounces out of control and bails out. Greg powers through, but Mike's loose board catches up and almost clobbers Greg. Here it comes. Flying boards can really hang you up. Complete with his clam diggers, swim fins, and his new pipo board, Frenchie decided to try Waimea. Up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's Super Surfer. Wayne Miata almost lost control. Wayne had a few kind words for Frenchie. They weren't long words, but they were kind. I mean, it's not every day you see a pipo board at the bay. The jolting impact of each ride was like trying to ride a bucking bronco bareback. Frenchie again screams down in front of Wayne and gave him a little spray. This time, Wayne really had some kind words for Frenchie, and Frenchie learned it isn't courteous to ace someone out, especially when that someone is a karate expert. Good rule to remember. Frenchie, Greg, and Rick were having the time of their lives. But Ricky got so stoked he almost drowned. Greg spotted a giant set building outside and scrambled out for the first wave. But now watch closely as the other surfer and board gets sucked backwards over the falls. Watch. There. Man, what a wipeout. That's how fast it can really happen. Greg looks out and sees K.L., one of the few Hawaiian locals to ride the bay, finally master the steep drop, only to lose his speed and get caught in the soup. Paul Gebauer and Ricky share a wave. As it grew later, it also got much less crowded as the bigger grinding waves were taking their toll. The bay had reached almost 30 feet, and Rick and Greg practically had it to themselves. It's hard to believe anyone can be so casual and even happy in surf this size. It's no wonder Rick and Greg are considered the two top cats in big surf. They're both unbelievable. Rick glanced up and saw Peter Cole come tumbling head over heels down the thundering wall, almost crashing right on top of him. Wow, that was close. Then Rick looked outside and saw probably the largest wave ever ridden. Greg and Stang are fighting with all their strength this thundering mountainous wave. Stang is side-slipping and losing speed. The whole mountain explodes, burying Stang alive. It's unbelievable. Greg, high in the wave, makes it and lets out a yell you could hear all the way to Tokyo. Never had the bay been more dramatic or its surfers shown more courage. Ricky Grigg here shows more class and style than a Russian ballerina. Surfing has come a long way from the ancient days of native Chief Pocky and his 160-pound koa log. Three surfers streaking into what looks like a black funnel of death. Sammy Lee tries to prone through the exploding fury, but it was Greg's wave. Rusty Miller came in, so did Paul Gebauer. But still outside, high atop a peak and flirting with death, Greg wrangles out of this giant. Then Stang, Mike Stang, got the largest and most terrible wipeout ever recorded. In slow motion, here it is. Don made it in through the channel. Kid Horn has found a short board in the channel. Whoever lost it may be in trouble. Somewhere out there, someone is in trouble. There, in the middle of the bay, it looks like someone. Across the bay, that deceptively beautiful fireball is forcing the struggling surfer toward the jagged rocks. Someone said it's Frenchie. It's impossible to get to him, whoever it is. A rescue in this treacherous surf is virtually impossible. Ricky is trapped outside himself. It was on a late, fiery afternoon like this that a big wave rider named Cross lost his life right off the point. There goes Rick. Maybe he can get through to Frenchie in time. No, impossible. Fuzzy Trent was so right when he described Waimea as the surfer's moment of truth. Fortunately, Rick is a fantastic swimmer, but Frenchie doesn't have Rick's stamina or experience. Look, he made it. And he's driving all the way across the bay to help Frenchie. Inside, someone is paddling frantically toward Frenchie. Looks like Stang and Greg. Man, hurry up and get out of there before another set comes. Yeah, that's definitely Frenchie. I can see his swim fins now. Greg and Stang are giving it their best, but the rip is rough. There's an ancient Hawaiian proverb that says, never turn your back on the sea. Now I know what it means. Next year may bring bigger surf and even bigger men to meet the challenge. But this is one Surfari many of us will remember for the rest of our lives. There are many beautiful moments that surfers share, but there are some things man must face alone. Would you believe it? Uh-oh, Frenchie dropped his blanket. But wonderful Wanda grabs it. Figures she may need it.